Just because Marc Daniels isn't here doesn't mean there's no beat of sports. Filling in for Marc, here's Mike Tuck.
Good morning and welcome to your Hump Day Wednesday show of the Beat of Sports. I'm Mike Tuck in for Marc Daniels, who will join us later on today. Chris Vasquez here as well.
So even though today is technically Wednesday,
Yes.
it's the final show of the week. Can we still call it Hump Day? Because it's not the middle of the week, technically.
It's the final day of, well, I'll say your work week. I'm working tomorrow at school, but I mean, call it what you want to call it, dude. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me. If you want to say, hey, it's 5 o'clock party time, then
Always.
it's 5 o'clock party time.
Always 5 o'clock.
Any plans for you this weekend?
Oh, what am I doing? I'm off from everything Thursday, tomorrow.
Okay.
Friday, I am working the newly renovated Bowegens in Castleberry.
Mm.
Saturday, July 4th. Happy birthday, Mom.
Kitchen open?
Kitchen is open.
All right.
Saturday, I will be out at Avalon Park.
Okay.
Bartending.
All right.
So, no radio for me, but
For the fourth,
slinging
though.
drinks. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You a fireworks guy?
Love fireworks.
Really?
Yep.
You light them off yourself?
No.
Okay.
I like to watch.
Like
Sit
to
back
watch.
and enjoy because I also don't like to clean up.
Okay. I mean, I can take a few minutes of fireworks, and then it's like, all right, I'm
I
good.
just love the I love the loud booms. Makes me happy.
All right. Speaking of loud booms, that's basically what happened when we left the air yesterday. A loud boom, as it always is. That an advantage of like working in the mornings in this business is you get to have the fresh takes, if you will, on the day and what happened the night before. The downside is when news breaks during the day, you're the last to talk about it. And that's what happened yesterday right after we went off the air. LeBron James and Rich Paul made it known that his client will be pursuing interests elsewhere. Everyone did their life is good. It's all what we want. At some point, we'll find out probably the truth because truths don't stay hidden for long on whether or not what Rich Paul said, by the way, just to relay that when he was on with Max Kellerman, they do a little ditty together. He said LeBron wants complete happiness. Don't we all?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, people can be critical of that, but at this point, like, what else are we doing? Like, you should be making decisions that make you happy. Like, that seems like a no-brainer to me. Came to a conclusion, can't be about money. Yeah, I think we all did when we started looking at cap situations. You're not going to get paid unless it's a big-time sign-and trade. I suppose that's still in the cards, potentially, depending on where he decides to go and if the Lakers would want something back in return, which there could be an argument made if it's a useful player. They might want to do that, even if it's clearly not going to be LeBron James, but if they can get something back to help him. LeBron, according to Rich Paul, 80% chance he was going to return to the Lakers, but as the weeks got on, I don't know if we're talking from the time they got eliminated or shorter term than that, it got lower and lower until he decided to officially leave. Of course, that's the stance they want to take. The classic, I broke up with you, you broke up with me. Like it has that feel to it. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but we can have fun with the conjecture there. The Broad understood that he could make the most money with the Lakers, but it was, he thought, in his best interest to move on elsewhere.
I think he's seen that, this is the best that the team is going to be. Maybe middling of the pack in the Western Conference.
That's harsh.
Am I wrong?
They were third last year and got to the second round and had to play without Luka in the playoffs. So I do think that's a little on the harsh side. They're not in the class of the top two teams.
No.
But most of these situations, which we'll get to in just a second, aren't either. So
again, you have the top tier.
Yeah.
Middle of the pack.
But the first thing I would come back to, complete happiness. That tells me, A to B here, that he didn't think he'd be completely happy in LA for whatever reason, whether it's the management. I don't think it's JJ. They seem to have a really good, healthy working relationship. Luka, even though they've each said really nice things about each other, there were moments where you wondered, as much as you want to play with somebody, maybe you don't like being around them as much. I don't know. It's possible. But again, complete happiness, and then you say we're going to pursue one of the 29 other teams, tells me that you weren't completely happy in LA, inadvertently. And And the Lakers, according to Rich Paul, the Lakers wanted to bring LeBron back. Didn't seem like it based on their hesitation throughout free agency, but okay. But didn't meet with the Lakers, and they didn't want to waste anyone's time. So, it sounds a little bit like a cover on the LeBron side of things, but it actually helps the Lakers look better. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day. He's going to choose where he's going to go, and whether or not you guys want to hear it or not, it's going to be a topic of conversation.
Of course.
Clearly, the three teams at the top of everyone's list would be Miami, Cleveland, and Golden State. The two teams he played for previous, and the one that is up the coastline, West Coast, Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, people he's been around, Draymond Green, people he's comfortable with, which, again, happiness. If you're going to be happy, then go be happy. It doesn't necessarily have to end in a title to be happy. I'm sure a lot of people had a good time this year that weren't on the New York Knicks. Is that fair to say? All right. So I came up with a list of 5 teams because if, in theory, what Rich Paul also said was, hey, all 29 other teams, we're taking calls.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Apologize to Kravitz and Bianchi in the afternoon selling on the Magic yesterday. Not going to do that. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. You got 2 guys that basically play his position that are your 2 highest paid players, your 2 best players. So It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I don't think you would change for a 42-year-old in any way. Now, if he wants to come here, here's the keys to the castle, as BK said yesterday. You can be down there with Mickey. You have annual passes if you want to. My top 5, interesting and compelling because you have a chance to win.
Okay.
San Antonio, which KV said at the top. That's a no-brainer. Sorry, Julian Champagny, you're coming off the bench now, or Vassell, you're coming off the bench now. Someone's coming off the bench, and LeBron's starting. But damn, if that doesn't make them the title favorite instantly. I don't know if he'll be happy in San Antonio, but that's a young bunch of kids. I know he doesn't necessarily like playing with young boys, but they got to the NBA Finals, and there's obviously a really good chance they could go back and win the championship this year with last year's experience.
Do you think that's the kind of market he'd want to be in?
I do not, but he didn't say them. What did he call out? Memphis, and what was the other city he called out?
Memphis is.
Yeah, he's not going to Memphis.
First and foremost. Yeah.
We cross off Memphis. We can there's 29. We can whittle down to 20 really quickly. Yeah. Automatically no chance to win. So we'd cross them off the list. Denver. I'm not talking about market. I'm just talking about, man, if you want to go and have a chance to spice things up, you immediately slot in next to Aaron Gordon with Jokic, with Murray, and that becomes one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the NBA with a chance to win an NBA title next year.
I don't see him going there.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I'm just saying if we're opening up and money's no object, like I've gone through and I've looked at kind of what everyone can offer. If that's completely irrelevant, and maybe he doesn't care. He's a billionaire. If he makes $4 million or $10 million or $15 million, at the end of the day, he'll make more money off endorsements clearly next year. San Antonio, Denver, Houston. Marcus Smart went there. Kevin Durant is there. We've talked about the Steph Curry angle. Why not go play with KD? That team was really, really good, but clearly missing something in these NBA playoffs. Now, KD got hurt. That hurt them in their series against the Lakers, but they needed kind of a ball maker, decision maker. He's not your traditional point guard, and Van Vliet can be back, but I don't think they're saying no to LeBron, and that makes Houston, kind of like Denver, immediately amongst the top 3 or 4 teams in the entire league. Okay. Immediately, right? And that is a bigger city, especially compared to the other 2. New York, I mentioned. He would get the KD treatment immediately, hopping on the team that just won an NBA championship. People would ridicule him for it, but he'd be in the big city, in the big market. Sorry, Josh Hart, you're now coming off the bench. But you want to talk about the Knicks having to scale back their payroll, but if he comes in on the cheap, the Knicks not only are still the favorite to win the East, they're back in the catbird seat, probably the favorite to win the whole thing again.
I'd agree with that.
And then the last team, which is, you'll laugh at it even more than maybe Denver and San Antonio, Indiana. Talk about fitting in nicely with a front court. Remember, they traded for Zubac. They got Siakam. Halliburton comes back. That's a team that would immediately, I think, resume back to the top spot in the Eastern Conference if you did that.
So this was your top 5 list of most interesting places?
Most title ready. You jump in, you immediately have an obvious role with that team.
Okay. I will say I don't see him in any one of those places.
I would tend to agree with you, but like I said, I started it with if we're to take Rich Paul at his word that they are taking calls from all 29. If I'm one of the I don't know how you don't call. I mean, unless you're prideful, like in your San Antonio or New York, who just got to the finals and won one of the championship, and you're like, nah, we don't need them. Like, you're not trying to win another one? Does it matter really what the rest of us have to say about you? I mean, who cares?
No, I think
when you're winning your 60th game of the year, I don't think you're going to care sitting in the number one seed, what people are saying about, they added LeBron James for nothing. That's not fair.
I do think all 29 other teams, if they were to add LeBron, he instantly makes them much, much better.
Of course. He'd make Brooklyn better. He'd make Memphis better.
Every single team, I think he would instantly make better.
We don't take away Tampa Bay's championship, the Bucks title that they added Tom Brady, and he made them the champion immediately, do we?
No.
We didn't go, oh, they cheated. They added Tom Brady cheaper than everyone else had the chance.
No.
Like literally every other team could have said, you know what? Forget about this investment. The Dolphins could have said, forget about Tua. We think this Tom Brady guy is a little bit better.
But in all honesty, where do you think he does go? I mean, is it Golden State? Because that seems to be the only team I keep hearing about. And then, of course, the Cleveland and Miami. But I don't think
Cleveland is the only one of those three that I think they become immediately in my top 4 championship contenders, joining San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and New York. That's the only one, because if they keep everybody, right, they could always do a sign and trade. But if they keep everybody, I don't love the James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, LeBron necessarily next to each other, but damn it, if that isn't a lot of offense to go with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley in the front court, that is an elite starting lineup.
Cleveland technically wouldn't have to bring back James Harden.
Yeah, but James Harden isn't signing his deal in theory because they want to open up that space if LeBron wants to come there. And Harden, look, let's be real, like as much as we've downplayed his career because of the postseason lack of success, maybe he genuinely is like, hey, this is my last shot at it. If it means me taking less to get LeBron here, why not? That's the only team I think, like Miami and Golden State instantly become more compelling and more interesting and contender-ish, but I would not with good faith tell you I'd pick them over New York or Oklahoma City or San Antonio this coming year.
I don't like LeBron with Golden State. Those guys are old, too many games missed. Then you add on the load management with the injuries, and I just don't see how that works. I don't see how it works.
What do you think the league is rooting for if they're rooting for anything?
Well, it depends on if this is going to be his swan song. If it's his final season, gotta end it at home.
You think the league would want Cleveland?
I do.
Okay. I think I'd bring it back to my wrestling parallel from earlier. You want interesting. They don't have to win the title to be interesting. Golden State or Miami are more interesting. Either one of those I think would be awesome because you'd put them on every primetime slot, every big game.
But if you want to go the wrestling route, I mean, what's more of a storybook finish than
going back home? It's Cleveland.
Going back home. It's LeBron James.
I know he's
the greatest player of this era.
Wherever he goes, they're going to get a ton of primetime slots. I'm just saying for the talkability of it, which no league functions better on social media than the NBA. It's what they do better than anyone else.
LeBron James made Cleveland relevant.
I know he'd make anyone relevant. We agree on that. You think Cleveland would be more compelling for a national talking point than Miami or Golden State?
I mean, if you're going to say Golden State, they got Steph Curry, they got Jimmy Butler, Steve Kerr.
That would be the argument against them.
If you talk about Miami, they just added Giannis.
Yeah, but Giannis has never been. Milwaukee was playing games on NBA TV in the NBA playoffs. So Miami, you'd win that if you wanted to say Miami over Golden State, just because Golden State's going to get all those primetime slots anyway because of Steph. Right now, I wouldn't say Miami is. So if he goes there, then they are immediately.
I think Miami is going to be up there just because of their market now, and then you add Giannis.
It's a long way from LA.
It is.
But maybe he wants a little time away from the fam before he has to spend the rest of his life living there all the time. Of course, he can go on vacations and do all that fun stuff. All right. We are going to talk some World Cup action. Kyle Bond from the Sporting News will join us next to preview Team USA's match today and how far they can actually go in this tournament next year on the Beat of Sports.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? One Forrest one.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CV's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great.
All right. You liked the one yesterday.
That was as good as you've done.
So now I feel pressure to
I
make
forgot
it 2
to
days
share
in a
it,
row.
though, now that you're saying that.
It's all good.
I did forget to share it.
All right. Where do fathers keep all of their dad jokes?
Where do fathers keep all of their dad jokes? I have no idea, Chris.
In a dad base. In a dad
Nope. Nope. Not today. Going to the weekend on that one. How's that for your Friday?
Welcome back to the Beat of Sports. Filling in for Marc Daniels, here's Mike Tuck.
10 o'clock, WYGM Orlando, WJRR, HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740, online and streaming, 969thegame.com. YouTube stream as well, 96.9 Game on. Mike Tuck, Chris Vasquez, and Kyle Bond from the Sporting News joins us now. Kyle, it's been a long time. I see you've been busy covering the World Cup, and we're in the house yesterday for France and Sweden and got some good weather, so that was nice.
Yeah, it was beautiful, finally. We'd had a couple of games where it was raining or at least rainy during the day and wet. But yesterday was beautiful. It's not a little hot, and it's just going to get hotter up here in New Jersey. We're ready for 105 weather the next couple of days. Thankfully, there's not going to be a game here until Sunday, which is the round of 16, and it won't be as hot anymore.
Well, that's good news. What has been more impressive so far in this World Cup? France as a team or Kylian Mbappe as a player?
I think it's France as a team. You look at that France team. They have Zlatan said this yesterday on the post-game show on Fox. I'm struggling a little bit with Zlatan, but he's coming around to me. He's actually got some really good analysis when he puts the shtick to the side. But he said yesterday they have 3 of the top 5 players in the world in that attack. You've got Kylian Mbappe, obviously. You have Ousmane Dembele, and you have Michael Olise. 3 of the top 5 players in the world in that attack. And Didier Deschamps is able to make it work, which is not easy when you've got players of that caliber all trying to play together. That is a scary team.
They have made it look easy so far. First team to score 3 goals or more in 5 consecutive matches. Kind of tells you all you need to know, and you hit it with the attack there. What so far has surprised you the most with what's come out of the knockout stage?
Well, I mean, not much, to be honest with you. You look at the teams that have been upset. I didn't expect Germany to get beat by Paraguay, but I did not have Germany going far in this tournament, especially with the fact that they would have played France in the round of 16. They had underwhelmed in the group stage. They don't have the same talent that they're normally used to. It just wasn't an impressive team. I was a little disappointed by the Netherlands. Well, I would say that they're probably the team that I was surprised the most by. Ronald Koeman completely changing the way that the Netherlands play against Morocco. It's a team that likes to attack, that likes to have the ball. He played 5 at the back and sat back. In fact, there was a stat, and now it's escaping me, of course, right when I need it the most, but there was a stat about how many passes Morocco had in the game against the Netherlands that was some kind of World Cup record or hadn't happened since 1966 or whatever, based on the amount of passes that they had. It was really un-Netherlands-like. And he's taking a lot of flack for it in the Netherlands and abroad for just completely changing the way that they play out of nowhere. But I was very disappointed by by the Netherlands.
Why do you think there's been so much reaction to VAR, specifically in regards to offsides?
I don't know, Mike. And I'm really struggling with it because this to me is the most frustrating thing when new people watch football or soccer. It's because they maybe get confused by the offside rule, but you're seeing people frustrated by close shave offside. And I need listeners to understand. Offside is the same as stepping out of bounds. It is black and white. You are off or you are not. This is not like a judgment call, right? Not like pass interference. It's not like calling a foul. This is black and white. The only difference is that the line is constantly moving. So whereas the out of bounds line, like a wide receiver steps with his pinky toe on the white line, they're out of bounds. And you never hear, oh, man, that was such a cool touchdown.
It should be a touchdown, man. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Because of vibes, right? Like, oh, wow, great catch, one-handed catch, but his toe was on the line. It should count. Like, no one ever says that because the line doesn't move. But because the line moves for offside, people get frustrated when there's hairpin calls. It is black and white. It's just like goal line tech. No one had any issue with goal line technology. It's seen as a massive positive for the game, right? Because now you know whether the ball has completely crossed the line or not, and it's now become a part of the game, and no one complains about it. But because the offside line moves, people get annoyed, and this is tough for me. And now people want to talk about, oh, we need to change the rule. Arsene Wenger has floated like a daylight rule where you're only offside if there's daylight between the attacker and the defender. This will not create a more attacking game. It will make the game more defensive because now the attackers have the advantage and defenders have to they have to compensate. Teams will bunker in order to protect runners off the back shoulder. It will make the game more defensive. It's not a good change.
Kyle Bond, Sporting News, joining us now, talking about the World Cup. His coverage. You've just been in New York, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
I'm here in New York. Fingers crossed for the final. We'll see. But there's a round of 16 game here too on Sunday. Brazil and Norway, which I expect Brazil to lose that game.
Very interesting. Erling Haaland's been particularly impressive. That should be a really nice Sweet 16 game coming up in the World Cup for you to watch. Team USA, they are in action coming up later on this evening. Expectations maybe have never been quite as high as they are right now. It's a round of 32 versus a knockout stage in the old days when it was a round of 16. So they are expected to win. What would prevent them from winning today?
Individual mistakes, individual errors. This has been a hallmark of this U.S. team for a long time. They have done a good job of the starting lineup stamping those individual errors out. But anytime some of the fringe guys come in, we saw it against Turkey, those backups come in and they make mistakes. But today, that is the only thing that's going to be able to stop them because this Bosnia and Herzegovina team, they are not slouches. They beat Italy in the qualification. They can capitalize on mistakes, but the U.S. is far and away better than this Bosnia and Herzegovina team. There is no question about that. They have more talented players. This Bosnia team's a little aging. Their star players have aged out a little bit, and they have not really done a good job of bringing in young talent that has sort of reaches the same level. But the U.S. is better than them at almost every position. They just need to avoid making mistakes and avoid getting frustrated if they're not able to score for a while. The hallmark of this U.S. team in the World Cup so far has been early goals.
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't happen. So they need to just keep from getting frustrated. If it gets to halftime and it's scoreless, that's okay. Just keep going. You don't have to make a ton of changes. And they should come out on top.
Yeah, it's almost been too easy for them early in some of these matches that we've seen so far. So let's just go ahead and assume, for the sake of conversation, knowing that we're not going to talk before the next match, and they win, they could potentially get Belgium again, who beat them not too long ago. What would be different this time around?
Yeah, everything. Everything would be different. I would expect the U.S. team to win this game. Belgium has not been impressive, just like Germany haven't. I don't think that they will lose to Senegal because Senegal's biggest weakness is defending. They have been horrific defending this tournament. And even before it, we saw the U.S. counterpress just carve them to shreds. Kalidou Koulibaly has not been good at this tournament. So I think even though Belgium has struggled in the attack, they should manage to exploit Senegal's weaknesses and get through. But they do not click up front. Romelu Lukaku is aging and not good in front of goal. Their biggest creative threat right now has been Leandro Trossard, who is leading the World Cup in chances created so far, but they have not been able to convert many of them. Kevin De Bruyne he can't run anymore, so he's just basically been reduced to a passer, which he's still incredibly good at, but he has no more athleticism. It's just a team that's not clicking really. And when your best creative outlet is Leandro Trossard, no disrespect to him. He's a good player, but he's a squad player. And the fact that he has been their best player this World Cup so far, I think speaks to the fact that the U.S. should win that game. They do not have good defenders on Belgium. The talent has just sort of slowly sapped from this team and not been replaced. And I think the U.S. should win that game.
All right. So we should continue to be excited. And there's plenty of people that thought a ceiling for this team could be reaching the quarterfinals. Where do you think the ceiling exists after seeing the Americans play 3 matches now?
That's probably the ceiling. And the reason I say that is that you're probably going to get Spain. And unfortunately, as much as I would love to hype this U.S., look, anything can happen in a one-game situation.
Sure.
Right? You get one of the best teams in the world. That's okay. You put yourself in the position, right? That's what they say about you make your own luck. You have to put yourself in the position to be lucky or to be to create an upset. But I would say that that's very unlikely. You would expect Lamine Yamal to be healthy by then. He's admitted that he's 80 or 90% right now. But by July 10th, when that game comes around, he's probably going to be fully fit or at least much closer. And that is just an incredibly difficult task for that left side of the U.S. defense. Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream on that side. It's just going to be tough for them. And I realize that with Spain, their biggest weakness is striker right now. Mikel Oyarzabal is very good, but his backup is Ferran Torres, who has been horrid at this World Cup. And Oyarzabal is a good player, but he's not a well-rounded player. He needs to sort of be brought into the game by others, which Lamine Yamal is incredible at. But there are ways to limit them offensively. You just have to limit Lamine Yamal, which is tough. So, anything can happen. But yeah, I think reaching the quarterfinal would be an unmitigated success for this U.S. national team. They've only ever done that once. That was in 2002. And they would have won 2 knockout games to get there instead of in 2002 they won only 1 because you only had the round of 16. So it would be an unquestioned success in my mind to reach the quarterfinals. Round of 16 is the bare minimum. If they lose to Bosnia and Herzegovina, it's a failure.
Yeah.
But reaching the quarterfinals would be great. Then you're in position to maybe spring an upset. I just think that's going to be very difficult.
The hosts in Canada and Mexico have already advanced. Let's hope it's 3 for 3 for the teams on home soil. Kyle, I really appreciate the time and enjoyed your coverage so far. And I'm glad that it was a little warmer and not rainy and wet for you in New York yesterday.
Great. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of it. It's been an incredible tournament so far. Almost every game has been exciting in some way. There's been storyline. It's just been fabulous. I hope it stays that way.
Me too. Thank you, Kyle.
Appreciate it.
Kyle Bond. Follow his work at The Sporting News and on Twitter X. It's at the_Bonfire. It's double N's in Bond. That's his last name. Nice play on words there by Kyle. NBA free agency is underway. It's a good day to have Keith Smith in. We'll get his thoughts on what's next for LeBron and what all these other moves in these trades mean for teams that are trying to be contenders next year next.
Time to talk basketball with Keith Smith. The latest on the Magic and around the NBA. Follow Keith on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA.
Mike Tuckin for the traveling Marc Daniels here on the Beat of Sports, FM 96.9 The Game. Joining us now, Keith Smith, on a very, very busy time in the NBA. Keith, we appreciate the time with you this morning. I want to start first, before we get to the giant pink elephant in the room. The NBA Cup is going to Hinkle Fieldhouse next season. They haven't announced where they're going in the future. It's an interesting strategy to move it around. What else do you think they could have in mind for the future of this event?
Yeah, I mean, also kind of interesting that all this dropped right as like free agency.
Right. It's odd timing, right?
Yeah, the timing was super weird on that. But yeah, they were not super thrilled with the turnout in Las Vegas. The NBA loves Las Vegas as a city. We're probably going to get an expansion team there. They really like Las Vegas as a summer league home. Like, that works out amazing. But with the NBA Cup, with very short time windows for people to travel, it just didn't really fit that way. Now, what I think they're banking on is by moving it around to these kind of classic venues, these college arenas and the like, starting with Hinkle Fieldhouse, you'll have a lot of locals who will go. You're not trying to fill necessarily a giant arena. It might be a little bit easier to fill it out, and it just gives it a little bit of a different vibe to the whole thing. So I think this is kind of cool to try out. We'll see what it looks like to as they kind of move this thing around the country to various places.
Yeah, I don't know how long that list is going to be for them, but I am curious. They haven't said where they're going next, but I think of Duke in Kansas, but yeah, interesting decision by the NBA there. All right, LeBron James. Is Rich Paul telling the truth here that LeBron really is making this decision? He didn't want to be with the Lakers?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Lakers, in every account, everyone I've talked to there, they were prepared to bring LeBron back and not run it back, but a version of running it back with the group that they had and just kind of get after it that way. Now they're in a position where they're looking at, all right, well, we're going to go the complete cap space route. And for LeBron, I think it was, all right, hey, things have just moved on in a different direction. I'm in a different place. That's going to be Luka Doncic's team. And I think he wants to end his career very much on his terms, wherever it is he wants to be. There's been a lot of stuff about the Warriors. There's been some stuff about the Heat. But a lot of folks last night and this morning are really thinking he's going to take it full circle back to Cleveland and finish it out where it all started.
What do you think will be ultimately what goes into this decision on where he ends up?
Yeah, I mean, all the reporting around this is he wants to be somewhere where he's happy, and he still. It was funny as he was, putting various things out there. He's in Cleveland right now, or in Akron, Ohio, where he's got this like giant palace, and I don't know how many other people in the world are choosing to leave Los Angeles, California, in the middle of the summer for Akron, Ohio, but LeBron clearly is. So I think that's a factor. I think with the Warriors, one of the things that was mentioned is it's a chance to wrap up his career with a bunch of guys who are roughly the same age as him, have similar interests, and are at various similar points in their lives as he is. So that could definitely be a part of this. So I think we're just in a place where we're going to see LeBron kind of make his decision really, I think, based on happiness. We know the money's going to be whatever it's going to be. Clearly he doesn't need it.
Right.
So I really do. I don't think he's going to play for the minimum, but I do think he's going to be in a position where it is prioritizing, this is where I want to be to close out my career over anything else. And a part of that decision will be, do we have a chance to win?
I did highlight earlier, in the list of things that Rich Paul discussed, and that happiness, right? That was the top of the list. Well, if you're saying you're opening up to the 29 other teams, in some way you're implying you weren't happy with the idea of staying in Los Angeles. I mean, is that fair?
Yeah, I definitely think there's fairness there. I think if we go back to a year ago when LeBron opted into his contract and didn't decide to go the free agent, another 1+1 with the Lakers where it could just continue to roll over until he retired, that was a sign of, he might be ready to go. As the year went along and the team started to play well, especially when they had everybody healthy. It became more of a, all right, this might actually be okay, and maybe we'll try to work it out to stay here. But then in the last few weeks, it's really pivoted to the Lakers want to reset around Luka and Austin Reeves and go into whatever their next iteration is. And I think for LeBron, all right, I'm not just going to come back here as some kind of afterthought. I think his post was very heartfelt and true that he loved his time with the Lakers. He won a title. He became the NBA's all-time leading scorer. There's probably going to be a guy who gets his jersey retired by them when all is said and done. But I think for him, I've only got how many ever years I've got left. I want to enjoy where I am, and I think with the Lakers, this is not. I can find more happiness, basketball and off court, other places.
It's never an easy sell to a fan base, Keith, when you're going to reset or even go so far as to rebuild. But I personally, at a distance, not a fan of these teams, but admire that the Clippers' acknowledgement of it's not working. And I really like collectively what they've done with all these moves, from last season now into the deal with Kawhi. I like what Charlotte's decision is to move on from LaMelo Ball. How do you feel about the teams that have been the sellers of these big name players that have moved on so far?
Yeah, for sure. Starting with the Clippers, I think this is one where makes a lot of sense for them. You got out, you didn't commit to Paul George and long-term money. You basically put a hard line in the sand with Kawhi Leonard of this is what we'll do in an extension. We're not going any further with this. So I think that's important for them. And then ultimately when it was, all right, then I don't really want to be here, then let's get out of this contract. And I think they did fairly well in that trade. I know Brandon Ingram's a little bit of a wonky fit, but there's only a couple years left on his deal. Grady Dick's simply a salary throw-in. But you get all kinds of first-round draft picks and swaps and everything else. So that's good stuff. And for the Hornets are trying to really reset their culture. They love the way they built things up, where they're moving this thing forward very rapidly now. Miles Bridges was not a perfect fit. I think the current front office and ownership group are in a place where that was a tie to the old Hornets. We're ready to move on from him, get that out of our system and get moving in a different direction. With LaMelo Ball, there's questions of, all right, is he going to ever be a serious enough basketball player that we're going to win at the highest levels? And there's a ton of injury history. He makes a lot of money, and he's going to be due for a new contract soon, too. So I think for Charlotte, it's just getting ahead of things there, where let's get moved on, and we've already got all this upward momentum. We've still got all of it. Got all the flexibility. Let's retool our roster right here on the fly and get things continuing moving in a good direction.
And obviously one of those teams that did decide to move on over these last two seasons was Memphis. Desmond Bane to Orlando, Jaren Jackson to Utah, and now the guy that collected the least amount in return was Ja Morant. You wouldn't have convinced anybody of that 3 years ago. They've completely reset. What is Portland's plan here with all these guards?
Yeah, it's weird that Portland went like a decade of, all right, we're going to win with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. And then it's finally like, all right, two small guards probably isn't going to work. And now it's like, hey, now we got Dame, except he's older and coming off a torn Achilles. And Ja Morant, who's a complete rehab project. I think for Portland, what this was simply an asset play. This guy is a former all-star level guy. Was talked about as one of the faces of the league when he was such an exciting young player. And I think for Portland, we can get him for relatively nothing. It was just matching salary. And Jeremy Grant, whose contract isn't great in and of itself, and Chris Martin, who was out of their plans. So I think this was, you know what? Sometimes you go grab the talent. We'll figure out all the fit stuff later as that roster is very in transition. But boy, they have a whole lot of guards there now. They got to figure out something, because when you have Ja Morant and Damian Lillard and Drew Holiday and Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson's looking to establish his career and get paid. That's just too much. So you got to figure something out for roster balance there. And also, good luck to Mike Norrie on one of the weirdest coaching contracts we've ever seen as a first-time head coach dealing with all that. Hey, good luck, coach. Get after it.
Yeah, it's hard to say no for what Portland did, but it feels like they have to have something else in mind as they move forward. Restricted free agency is difficult. I get why it's there, but man, does it make life difficult for everybody sort of involved. So I'll spin it into that, and you can comment on restricted free agent if you want. But who's more likely to find themselves elsewhere, Walker Kessler or Jalen Duren?
It's a really good question. I think it's Jalen Duren. I think him and the Pistons are so far apart where they see the value, and it does seem like there are other teams that are willing to give him the max that they can give him. It's not going to be that super max 30% that he qualified for. He's not getting that from anybody. The Pistons have made that clear, and other teams can't offer that to him. He can only get that from his current team. So we're in a place with Duren where it becomes, all right, where are we gonna go with this as we kind of get moving on the things here? So now it becomes, right, there are teams that are interested in giving him that money. So for Detroit, it could be, do we work out a sign and trade? Do we just let him walk? How do we want to handle this as they kind of maybe retool their own roster on the fly? With Kessler, it feels like he's maybe the backup plan to Duren for a couple of these teams. And the Jazz still want to keep Walker Kessler. And they don't seem, what he's finding on the open market doesn't seem as far away from what Utah can offer him. So I think there's a chance we see that be the play where he ends up still returning to the Jazz.
All right, let's wrap with the Orlando Magic, who are sitting on their hands. And I argued yesterday that's not necessarily a bad thing for where they are right now. They have 3 spots that are available to them. Keith Smith, put on your free agency hat, and what do you think they might be looking at?
Yeah, this is one where I've been telling Magic fans for a couple months now. It's probably going to be pretty quiet. If they're doing something big, it means one of the core guys has to go. That's the only real way for them to make a meaningful trade. And that's one thing. If that was, hey, we're jumping in for Giannis Antetokounmpo, that would be one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But to trade guys like Banchero or Bain or Suggs or Wagner, that becomes a whole different thing. And I think for the Magic, that is, I don't think they're ready to do that. I think they still have a very high level of belief in, if we can get these guys all on the floor consistently, now with a new coach, we can really be something. Because we've seen it in fits and starts around, the 5 games are all healthy, then, they're not for a month. And then they kind of come back together. And it's like, all right, this group does fit. They complement each other well. They play really hard. They're really good. So I think we're going to give it one more go with this core group under a new head coach. And if we're still having the same kind of conversations a year from now, somebody's going out of that group. They're just going to be too expensive to just keep running it back, and banging your head against the wall. As far as this summer, sounds like a return for Jonathan Isaac maybe in the cards. I'm kind of, let's just cut ties and move on and let everybody
Right.
start over. But it sounds like they're going to bring him back. My guess is that would probably be on a minimum contract. It's already paying him $8 million anyway. So that's not the end of the world. Maybe Javon Carter returns. Sounds like Mo Wagner is going to get priced out. There are a couple teams that want to give him some money. So it's probably, no one's going to be jumping up and down, I think, for the Magic moves. But sometimes not doing anything actually ends up being kind of the right move for you as a franchise.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday. The Knicks, they changed around the fringes and made some moves in season, but other than the coach, they didn't do much last year, and it kind of worked out for them. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's what's the old saying? Sometimes the best trades are the ones you don't make, and that could be what we're looking at with the Magic.
100%. Good call. Keith, appreciate the time today. Have a happy and safe Independence Day weekend.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
Keith Smith, great follow at Keith Smith NBA. The Magic, I looked at the updated odds for next year. I'm a little surprised on where they sit. I'll share that with you next.
Ready for more sports talk? Of course you are. In for Marc Daniels, here's Mike Talk.
A very busy Wednesday here on the Beat of Sports. Thank you to Kyle Bond and Keith Smith. Some good conversations there about probably the two biggest things going right now, World Cup, Team USA in action later on this evening. In a kind of a weird place for America to be, like a we should win situation in advance. And look, I would even push back a little bit. I have optimism. Like if they're able to get through the next two, then Spain hasn't played so overwhelmingly terrific to think that they couldn't pull that upset. Now, if you get to the semis against France, I mean, talk about a fired up country at that point. Nothing like David versus Goliath. That would have the feel of beating Russia in the semifinals in Lake Placid is what it would feel like. Tell me I'm wrong. Like that would have that same sort of sense and feeling, right?
Yeah.
That's what people forget is that wasn't for the gold medal. That was the semi. It'd be the same thing here. It's like, not that getting to play whoever it would be, Brazil, Argentina, England, whoever it would be in the final, you'd still want to win that one, but getting to France in semifinal would be pretty special.
You just want the U.S. to win.
NBA Cup, I brought up there going to Hinkle, not to Vegas. I do wonder, like, the shelf life of, like, just rotating. They say historic arenas. Like, there's only so many of those around. I feel like we had this conversation a few years ago when baseball, did their Iowa, thing and the Field of Dreams thing. And, like, all right, where could basketball go? And Rucker Park was one. Like, I don't think they're playing the NBA Cup in Rucker Park. But
real quick, can I give you a little bit of breaking news?
Yeah. You're interrupting me. It must be really good breaking news. My phone's lighting up to my right here. I won't even look because I feel like you're going to surprise me.
The Orlando Magic made a free agent sign.
Oh, well, maybe it's not that. I don't think that would quite make my my phone light up. Yeah, go ahead.
Vucevic coming back to Orlando.
Vooch. Really?
Vooch is coming back. 1 year, $3.9 million deal.
Really? Well, that's the end of the Wagner brother connection, which, by the way, like, Brooke and Robin didn't play together, and Markeith and Marcus didn't play together their whole careers. That's okay. They'll be okay. They can still talk to each other.
Fan favorite Vooch.
Yeah, as a potential third center, or if he were to supplant, or maybe on some nights supplant Goga as the backup. That makes some sense. Comfort for him, probably. Fans won't reject that idea, I don't think, right?
Nah.
I mean, he wasn't good enough to be part of Boston's rotation last year in the playoffs after they traded for him, but
good for Vooch.
Yeah, an affordable deal. Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. That's good breaking news. Speaking of the Magic, NBA Cup, are you already got your bets down Group A next year? Do you see this? Group A? I think it sets up pretty well for Orlando. You got Detroit, who might be rebuilding, but you also get that playoff rematch. You get Toronto and Kawhi. That'll be interesting, right? You got Toronto, Milwaukee, and Brooklyn. Talk about a great draw. Orlando's going to find themselves in Hinkle. Are you kidding me? Milwaukee and Brooklyn in the group? That means if you beat Toronto and just, avenge Detroit, you're there.
Don't upset the
basketball. That's a great group.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
That's a great group.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
That is a great group. I am ahead of myself. Magic fans, Indiana, here you come. Some Butler Bulldog action. Going to Hinkle Fieldhouse. I did look real quick at the odds. I was curious where it moved Toronto, right? Because they're right behind Miami, like in the odds. And maybe it's different sites. I don't gamble. I know everyone else does. I don't. So if there's other odds out there, bless your heart. I'm just looking at these particular odds. Miami and Toronto, like, they're neck and neck, third and fourth behind the Celtics and Knicks. I don't get the Celtics thing. If anything, the Celtics have the potential to get worse if Jaylen Brown. I didn't even ask him about Jaylen Brown. That's probably a question for next week because who knows what will happen there. Cleveland, they would shoot to the top if they got LeBron. They're fifth. Detroit currently is sixth. Where do you think Orlando is? I'm through the top six.
I'd put them middle of the pack. 14,
Well,
maybe
there's
13.
no, I mean in the East.
Oh,
to
in
win
the
the East. I'm sorry, I should have specified
Sorry.
that. So there's only 15.
Yeah. All right.
They probably are. I could look at the whole West or the whole thing, but I was just looking at the East.
Just in the East, I'd probably put them 7, 8.
All right, so Indiana's 7.
Okay.
Philadelphia's 8. So I still haven't gotten to Orlando.
I don't know why you'd put Philly can't stay healthy.
I'm just telling you what the odds are. I think some of that is the cities, the teams, maybe, but
So what are we at? 10?
no, we'd be at 9.
You got them at 9?
Nope, Atlanta's 9.
All right. So 10.
Yeah, 10 it is. 10 it is. Only Charlotte clearly should be behind Orlando. Washington, I'd probably put Washington ahead of Charlotte, frankly, but they're behind Charlotte. Milwaukee, I'd have Milwaukee lower. Chicago, and then Brooklyn. I don't know how Milwaukee's ahead of those other teams. I don't. Milwaukee looks like the worst of the bunch. Even Brooklyn looks to be a little spicy and interesting. Now that they're not I don't know, they got 18 point guards and Julius Randle, but they'll figure it out. Them in Portland, they're just going to play, 4-point guard lineups. They drafted Mikael Brown. I haven't talked about the draft. That was last week, but they drafted another guard. I don't know what they're doing. Fight it in practice and sort it out. See who's standing at the end of it. A lot of free agency moves, including Vooch. CV spoiled that one for you, but there's another move that is really interesting if you're a fan of the Miami Heat that I will share with you coming up in the news next.
Let's really do the news.
Yes. Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
$11 o'clock, WYGM Orlando, WJRR, HD Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9, The Game, AM 740, Orlando sports leader. Mike Tuck, Chris Vasquez here. Marc Daniels will join us in the next segment. It is time for the news. Chris broke the news to us that Nick Vucevic is coming home. Vuce returning to Orlando, 1 year, $3.9 million deal. Reported? Are you Shams? You reported it? Or is it Shams?
It's Shams.
Okay.
Shams is my source.
That's okay. Shams is a good source.
I think he's everybody's source.
He is a good, yeah. Well, and it happens. Like, I'm not even mad about it, but like Shams inevitably puts something like that out, and every beat reporter that covers said team and or every other person that covers it, like my sources said, yeah, I know Shams sources said it too. Like 3 minutes ago, you're doing your due diligence. You are doing your job. I'm not knocking you, but it is always funny to see that, like the litter of tweets that come after that. So I mentioned if you're a Heat fan, this is interesting because everyone, and I was talking to the Heat guy in my class last month, who was like laying out the lineup with Giannis, and he kept saying Norman Powell. I said, stop saying Norman Powell. He's a free agent. Like, it's very unlikely Norman Powell and Andrew Wiggins are coming back, and Norman Powell is not coming back. He was an all-star for the Heat last year. They will have to have a different big three, if you will, because Norm is going to Chicago on a 2-year, $45 million deal. Doesn't make the Bulls a playoff team, but, that's a good signing for the Chicago Bulls. Bogdan Bogdanović and Marcus Smart going to Houston, as the Rockets were one of those teams in the discussion in the West all year last year before fading late. So they're adding a couple of veterans on very cheap contracts. You got John Collins going to Detroit, 3 years, $51 million. He was with the Clippers last year. Utah before that. Atlanta is where he started his career. If you remember his springy power forward. I don't know what that means for Tobias Harris in Detroit. Everyone's trying to figure out what that means for Jalen Duren in Detroit. As Sacramento and the LA Lakers each have met with Duren. There are reports out of LA that they are willing to max him out, which Detroit would be able to match. Don't know how any of that shakes out. The only thing a player can do in those spots is demand things, and sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work, as we've seen. Dean Wade is going to Philadelphia, the shooter out of Cleveland, and Luke Kennard, the guy that led the league in three-point shooting last year, is going to the Phoenix Suns on a deal that's a little bit more than maybe what the Magic could afford. FYI, I know Magic fans, some of which were irate yesterday to see. Yeah, an opportunity to have one of the best shooters in basketball in your squad's never a bad idea.
We had another guy reaching the 20-year plateau this season. Mike Conley signing a 1-year deal with the Celtics.
He's going to Boston.
Yep.
Okay, I missed that. And
he's the 14th player now to reach 20 seasons.
He was one of those guys that was mentioned for the Miami Heat, who, by the way, bring in Tim Hardaway's kid, who, of course, played with the Miami Heat famously, Timmy Two Steps. Now his son, Junior, signed with the Heat. There was thought Conley would end up there. Great teammate, great locker room guy, great ambassador for the sport. Definitely outlasted Greg Oden in the NBA as they both came out of Ohio State. Not a whole lot to offer at this stage. In Minnesota, they've sort of been treading water with him the last couple of seasons. So he'll be a figurehead of sorts in Boston. And DeAndre Jordan, I was teasing you, his 19th season. I couldn't believe DeAndre Jordan still hanging around. New Orleans has brought him in on a deal.
Good for him. We were talking about it during the break. I think of him in Lob City with CP3 and Blake Griffin.
Yeah, that's a great example of, like, you don't have to win a championship to have a legacy and to create memories for a fan base, because that was one of the more exciting teams in the NBA for a handful of years that, frankly, like, maybe you could argue the Clippers have always been cursed, but they were cursed. Like, it was either Blake or CP that got hurt every one of those playoff years. They never got to play in a playoffs full power. That never happened. And then they lost the 3-1 series lead against Houston. They win that series, they get to the Western Conference Finals to play Golden State. Who knows, right? If they're healthy. maybe that would have been one of those teams. Like, Kawhi Leonard going back to Toronto, by the way, I feel like that's yesterday's news, but clearly that was big news. That was confirmed later yesterday is that trade is going to happen. Like, as big of a splash that deal was during the year that the Raptors acquired Kawhi, that was Golden State's title to win, and they didn't win it. Why? KD got hurt, Clay got hurt, Boogie got hurt. Remember, Boogie Cousins was like the fifth member of that squad that they were looking like Thanos with the gauntlet. Like, got the Infinity Gauntlet. They got all 5 stones. Not going to be able to beat, and things happen, right? Oklahoma City, like, it will be forgotten, but
life in sports.
This could have been their year, and Jalen Williams got hurt.
Life in sports.
Right? So you want to be in the conversation. That's all you can ask for, is to put yourself in that position in the playoffs, and then fingers crossed everyone's there and the ball bounces your way. And obviously for Toronto, one of the more famous bounces, definitely the most famous one in Raptors history, is Kawhi fading three-pointer in the corner, falling down and getting mobbed.
Over Joel Embiid,
right.
Game 7.
Game 7. Just epic. Epic. And
It's
that's the story, honestly, of Philadelphia as well, with Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons, who is still playing well, and peak Joel Embiid. Like, that's the difference sometimes between winning and losing. Like, I just gave you a few stories of teams that could have maybe won a championship, but an injury or a bounce, and it doesn't happen.
Yep.
And it's lost in history, except for to that fan base. Just like Magic fans, we'll continue to talk about Courtney Lee's missed lob, right?
I almost said Rashard Lewis. Nick Anderson.
Nick Anderson, of course. I don't know which. It's interesting. I don't know which hurts worse. I would think Nick's free throws probably hurt worse. They probably had a more realistic. They had home court advantage. That was game 1 to go up in the series. I don't know. That's a good quiz question for Magic fans old enough to experience both. Which one hurt worse? I would think Nick, but that's just me.
I think so.
All right, we'll get Mark on next to discuss what's going on at the World Cup and his thoughts there, free agency, and so much more. Marc Daniels joins the show next.
Just because Marc Daniels isn't here doesn't mean there's no beat of sports. Filling in for Mark, here's Mike Talk.
It is Sports FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740. You can check us out on YouTube. 96.9 Game On. There's CV. There's me. Mo Wagner. We just told you Vooch about 25 minutes ago is coming back to Orlando. Mo Wagner, 2 years, $19 million to Brooklyn, which was predictable by anyone following it closely. I mean, that's what the market sort of bears for that variety of big guy.
Are you surprised the Nets?
I don't know what the Nets are doing.
Exactly. So again, are you surprised that he chose the Nets?
No, I think at some point, like,
Or was there
was
a big market for Mo?
I don't know. You'd have to, I don't know. There's been a bunch of guys that were signed before him, so I don't think he was at the top of the market. Otherwise, his name would have been called first ahead of some of these other,
Right.
backup big guys that have signed elsewhere. No, as much as we talk about winning a championship, there's 30 teams, there's 32 in the NFL, there's 30 in baseball. Like you're going to go where you can make a living, and sometimes that situation isn't going to be a winning one, but doesn't mean you can't be happy. You can't have quality of life. You can't make a career.
Make the money.
Look, sometimes like assurance is a playing. Would you rather go and play or, not be able to play, be forced to sit? Like there's a lot of those decisions that I think are at play. I do think what's been interesting so far is just the reality of what the first apron of the luxury tax and the second apron of the luxury tax brings, and the challenges that become because of that, and the reality of now stars, SGA, $71 million of $165 million cap, and Steph, Tatum, $62 million, Giannis, $58, Joker's $59. Like these guys, rightfully so. You'd want, if someone's going to eat up a third or more of your cap, it's going to be your superstar. But where you start to get into trouble is when you're paying your second, third, or fourth player who doesn't perform at an all-star level, right? That kind of money, it's tough for it to work. And that's kind of where Orlando is right now, is they're paying four guys huge sums of money. Magic's big four, $155 million. None of them are NBA all-stars. If one or two of them become all-stars, then it's certainly, you feel more comfortable with it. But if that doesn't happen, the team doesn't win enough, and it's not going to work. And we've seen, again, where teams like basically Charlotte, hey, we missed the playoffs. We don't need to pay LaMelo Ball all this money. We don't need to pay Miles Bridges this money. Memphis and tearing apart their big three. Marc Daniels hopping on with us now. Mark, from locations unknown, we are dying to know where you're at.
It's a mystery that I'll have to share at a later date.
Oh. Track his phone, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Are you interested? KV was trying to sell me on the, and hear me out here, $325,000 if you want to go halvesies with KV. I told him I'm not in, on a piece of Madison Square Garden's floor. It's got like the NBA Finals logo, but here's the catch. It's only got part of the trophy and the FIN. You can only have the FIN, not the full word. 320. You have to share it with him, but like I told him, no thanks. But I said you might be in.
Yeah, I think I passed. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it how big is it?
It's whatever that piece of the floor that occupies the F and the I and the N of finals. I don't think you even get any of the NBA as part. Huh?
It's like 2 feet?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not standing on top of it, Mark. I would imagine probably, like maybe a 2x2.
I'll pass. I'm good. I mean, the great thing about we talk about this. So people that are into that stuff, it's great. But when your team wins a championship and you just dive and drown yourself in that euphoria. That's enough of a fix for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because, Mike, the NBA season never sleeps, and you guys are talking about all this free agency and all these moves, which is great. And I don't know why, but I don't care. I care as well. The job is what we do. But as a Knicks fan, you're like, I pretty much got an idea where the team is. We'll see about Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah.
I don't expect him to win a championship. There's going to be a hangover next year. And when you wait as long as the Knicks did, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
No, I don't think people believe me. And, you get people that get crazy with this stuff, and you expect championships every year. And, the Lakers are supposed to win a title every year. Mark, I'm good. When I was 30, they had been to 15 finals and won 10 of them by the time I was 30 years old. I'm good.
Yeah, that's why people hate you.
I know. I understand. And I understand that. I really do. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm not stressing it. It's okay. It's okay.
But I think there's I talked about this. In a sports sense, I'm jealous of fans that go through dynastic runs because I'm like, the Yankees had that obviously years ago, but there's something, I don't even know how to describe it, whether it is worth the journey, the gut-wrenching, the heartbreaking, the miserable seasons that you go through, and then when your team breaks through. And the thing about the Knicks was, and Mike, the last couple of years they got close. Halliburton does his things, and heartbreak, and then miserable seasons and all this. And then when you win, and I don't know if the Giants will win a Super Bowl with Harbaugh, but I've seen the Giants win Super Bowls, but I've been through some really bad seasons. So when they turn it around, I just think there's something about the grind of a fan. We talk about the teams that go through. I think when a fan goes through, several years or a decade plus of just heartbreak and misery, when your team breaks through, I just think you savor it more. I mean, sure, if a Patriot fan wins a Super Bowl next year, they can celebrate, but good God, they've done it so much. You don't understand the same journey of the heartbreak that other fans go through.
You are 1,000%. It's different context, but it's the same cliche idea of the journey is what makes the destination. If you didn't get to experience the downs, then the ups don't feel the same. The sweet isn't the sweet without the sour.
And the Cubs won a World Series. The Cubs weren't supposed to win anything, okay?
Yeah.
The miserable, lovable Cubs, and then they break through. And I don't know if they'll win again, but there's something about that grind. Chris knows. What is it, 4 decades now, Chris? Your team? Which one is it?
Easy. We're at 31 years.
Good grief, Chris.
You were in diapers. You were in diapers. I don't even know where you want to be. You want to start with Vooch back to Orlando? You fired up?
What's the deal?
Vooch coming back.
How much?
1 year, 3.9.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
I mean, for that price, not a problem at all.
And literally 20 minutes later, Mo Wagner to Brooklyn.
How much?
2 for 19.
Oh God. I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
I got no problem taking Vooch at that price, and good for Mo to go and take the money he's getting. I think the Magic center position is interesting. Look, Mike, over the last few years, I kind of compared Wendell Carter Jr. to Vooch a little bit of a different type of game, but some similarities in the sense of he's got a ceiling, and that's what he is. He's not going to be any better. He doesn't really hurt your team. He doesn't necessarily help your team. He's just adequate, which is kind of what Vooch was, although Vooch, I guess, made an all-star team. So as far as depth, people trying to push Isaiah Nelson into rotation is ridiculous right now. And, I don't know if they're going to do this, but, I mean, come on, the Isaac thing for what? Any dollar spent on bringing Jonathan Isaac back, and maybe the Vooch thing has closed the door on that. It's not personal with Isaac. It's just you're getting no basketball return. So stop being nice to people. This is about trying to win games, but I got no problem with Vooch.
Yeah. All right. So LeBron wants to be happy, which to me tells me he wasn't happy with the one team he was with and is looking to go to one of the other 29 teams.
Can I ask you, who do you believe said
go ahead.
For change first?
Who do
you think said we're going to move on?
I think if the Lakers didn't hint at it, they flat out said it. I'm not really buying the story that I'm not really buying the story that the Lakers. I think the Lakers have have made the decisions mostly based on the Lakers. You there, Mark? Oh, did we lose Mark? I thought he was sitting on that, but I think we lost him. Get him right back. That was a good pause, though. Like, he hit the pause hard. Like, oh, let me simmer on that. I do. We got him back. All right.
Yeah, I'm back. Did you say the Lakers? You think did it first?
Yeah, I kind of believe it was
agree.
the Lakers. Yeah,
I agree, and yet let him do it the way he did.
correct.
By saying,
correct.
"Hey,
We'll take if you will the public L on this one and let you have yeah the way you politely do if she wants to say it was her decision, that's fine. Hope she finds happiness.
Yeah. I mean, if he goes to Golden State, CB and I talked about this as a basketball fan and a daily soap opera. I'm fascinated, and some teams. I say this all the time. Some teams do not have the luxury of just going, "Hey, fans, I need 3 to 4 years to blow it up and rebuild." I mean, Charlotte did it after one of the best second half seasons in the NBA this year. But I think their management said this isn't good enough. I mean, let's not forget, as good as it was, they got blown out with the Magic in a play-in game.
Mm-hmm.
But that fan base has been through so much. In San Francisco, the Bay Area, they don't have that luxury when they charge what they do for their seats, and with Steph Curry still playing at the level that he's playing, to go, hey, guys, we're just going to pivot for the next 4 years. Do I think that group can pull it off whether they get AD or not? No. But I'll watch. I don't care.
You know what is just and it's like the old, Batman, you live long, you're the hero, live long enough, you become the villain, kind of with LeBron. No matter what he chooses, there'll be people that like it and people that will be against it. If he chooses and elects to go to a team that immediately becomes a championship contender, i.e., let's say San Antonio or New York or something like that, right? Immediately we go, oh yeah, he's joining a favorite and he's going to get the KD treatment. And if he elects to go
to State into, I don't know why people are anti-LeBron. I get it. It's all about him. Well, no kidding. I mean, who's not like that? And I'm not bothered if someone playing at he's not embarrassing himself.
No,
okay? Let's get over that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a 43-year-old guy or 42-year-old guy limping out there. If he wants to play basketball, I have no problem with that. I'm not going to criticize that. If it isn't Golden State, San Antonio, it's interesting, but I don't think they need that sideshow, though. I think that young team doesn't need that sideshow. And I don't know outside of Golden State what the market really is. I mean, you want to go to Cleveland with Harden and Mitchell? I don't know.
Yeah, Keith was leaning toward Cleveland, but I don't love the fit. But
do you see that fit there? I mean, I understand going home, but do you see that basketball fit?
Of the three obvious teams, right? Golden State, Miami, and Cleveland for the associations there. I think Cleveland would be the one that gives him the best chance to win a title. I just don't think it will happen because of the fit. I don't think that would work. I think Miami and Golden State would be the ones that we would talk about the most because of the markets and sort of the general interest in what's happening there. But if he wants to win a title, I mean, I listed San Antonio, Denver, Houston, New York, even Indiana as better fits and chances to win championships.
Listen, man, I keep telling people, do not forget about the Pacers.
No.
The Pacers punted on the season. Boston had the year that nobody thought they were going to have, and the year that Boston was supposed to have the year Indiana had. But you go back and look at the Pacers roster, don't write the Pacers off, man. I'm telling you. And I don't know. I think Charlotte may be better. I really do. I think Charlotte may be better next year. I kind of like what they did. And I say better, meaning I think it creates traffic in that 5 through 8 spot.
Mm.
And we're going to assume the Magic are going to be healthy and compete for a top 4 spot. But I think the Pacers are going to bounce back. I think Charlotte, I think is going to be a better basketball team. Let's see what Boston ends up looking like. Is kind of stuck, I think. Then I don't know what their future is going to be. Miami may figure it out, although they're running out of opportunities to get guys to really go beyond Bam and Giannis here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing somebody out there, but they're running out of shooters.
Right. No, Miami did what they had to do, but they're just not. It's not going to work. They'll win some games and they'll be good, but they don't have enough on that roster.
Actually, one of the team that I'm guilty of that just listening to other basketball people that I respect, did we rush to OKC's dynasty?
You asked me about that.
I don't think
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't think they're falling on the face of the earth, but even though they made a few small moves, they do have some big financial decisions here coming.
I was surprised that they've already, elected to bring back Hartenstein and Dort. Like that.
Yeah.
That surprised me. But like, and I'm not nothing. We do this every year. We literally could look at every season ever and come up with an injury. But if Jalen Williams doesn't get hurt, do they win the championship this year? And now it's 2 in a row. And now Vegas has them as the favorite to win next year. Like, I hear what you're saying.
Him now. He's up for the extension. So
I get it. I'm not saying it'll be the same group, but goodness knows they have assets and young players, and they literally cleared off 2 guys that could play in the league because they can't keep them anymore, right? Because they got other guys they're trying, and they drafted 2 more guys, right? Like they're just filthy rich right now, and I don't know if it'll be a dynasty. It may not be a tradition. It might be a Spurs-like dynasty, which is not a true dynasty. It's hard for me to say it because they never even won back-to-back titles, but it might be spread out. It might be a decade's worth of winning 4 championships for Oklahoma City.
Yeah. By the way, I forgot, but and share your thoughts. I think the Raptors are going to get a good Kawhi Leonard next year. I don't know about 2 years, but I think he's going to get next year. Now, good may mean 58 games.
I was going to say, that's the part I worry about is 35-year-old guy. We're excited he played 65 games this year.
But Mike, you know the numbers. This was his best statistical season.
He's great.
In his career.
He's great.
And you look at what else they have there, and again, you talk about the East and the traffic in the East. Toronto, if they get a Kawhi, that's another tough matchup there.
They'll be a tough out. I don't think they're a championship team. You can't sell me on you can't sell me on Jakob Poeltl in the middle. They have
no, but enough to be a problem. And again, when you start to look at the depth of the East, like I said, if you think there's a top 2 or 3, and then the group below, and if you think the Magic's in the group below, there's a bunch of teams, and maybe that's great. Maybe that's a really cool thing about the East next year.
And I think that's where they're at. Like Graves and Bradley might give them something as rookies. They almost have to with the way the roster is. RJ Barrett would have to improve his efficiency. Like they definitely are interesting. I just don't. And again, not knocking them for the move. I love the move the Clippers made, to reset this whole thing. It won't pay off for them in a number of years. But real quick before I let you go, because I want to ask you what CV asked me yesterday, because it's a very interesting argument, and you're old enough to have really good perspective on this. If
translation Mark's old, go ahead.
If Team USA shocked the world, right, and hopefully that starts that run tonight, would it be the biggest American victory in the history of American victories, surpassing the Miracle on Ice?
No, but very close. The Miracle on Ice is a story that I just think has legs that, carries itself in the most treasured moments in sports history. And you have to understand that team of college guys beating what the world felt was the greatest collection of hockey talent ever. And to this day, and you can look at some of the team. Well, I mean, heck, you can look at the team at the U.S. Canada, a Canadian team. They've been the best team talent-wise ever. It'd be right up there. I think the difference is the Olympics and at the moment and all that stuff made it unique. Now, I'll say this, I've always said this, the Men's World Cup is the last event that America has not experienced an underdog celebration.
Mm-hmm.
And it was wild watching a semifinal that I'd never watched a soccer game before that would suddenly become patriotic and allow me to just kind of, play the heartstrings here. In a country that is divided in so many ways and so many levels, sports is the ultimate unifier. We would still wake up the next day with our political and social differences, but there's something unique about rallying America behind something, and this team has an opportunity. Now, tonight is not an easy game, and I think Senegal is going to beat Belgium, and I think that is a really, really tough matchup for America in the round of 16. But if the U.S. is able to get through tonight, you begin to build some momentum. And I do think the real snowball happens if they get into the quarterfinal. And then it becomes a much bigger event. The odds have been great. Find the different ways to watch this. You're talking 20 to 25, 6 people. You get yourself to a quarterfinal and semifinal. You're now, I think you're going to push 40 to 50 million people. And there's nothing else outside the Super Bowl and conference championships in the NFL that comes close to it. And if this team got to a semifinal and final, that would be impressive to watch. But be careful tonight. I do think the U.S. is a better team. If you watch any of the Turkey match, even though they lost, when Pulisic came in, he was the best player on the field. He'll be the best player on the field tonight. This is a full lineup for the U.S. It was not a full lineup the last match. They should win. If they score early, it's a good sign. So the answer to your question is, let's see what happens if they get to the semifinals and finals, and I may feel differently to answer your question, but we'll see.
Mark, a little bit of breaking news for your Knicks. Mitchell Robinson departing the Knicks for the Boston Celtics. 3 years, $47.4 million.
How much?
3 years, $47.4 million for Mitchell Robinson to the Boston Celtics.
Well, he's dead to me now.
Over under 75 games over 3 years.
I mean, good for Mitchell Robinson. That's a backbreaker in emotion. Knicks, I think, kind of felt like that was the direction. I can't blame him for taking the money. It's a lot of money, though, for a guy that is limited offensively, but he's an offensive rebounding eater, and it's a smart move by Boston to go after the Knicks. And I'm not shocked by it. I mean, the Knicks were kind of handcuffed, and the Knicks were not going to pay that kind of money. I mean, it just doesn't work for them. I'm sure they offered him something. If I had to guess, it may have been 2 for 25, and probably he wanted a third year guaranteed, and then for him. But from now on, he's dead to me.
Wow, Walker Kessler to the Lakers just happened too. Did Mark cut out? You there, Mark?
Who went to the Lakers?
Walker Kessler to the Lakers just happened. Like right as I'm about to say goodbye to you, I just looked down.
A restricted contract? How much is the deal?
They are trading for him. Hold on, I got to pull this.
Oh, it's not a trade.
Yeah, I think they're going to trade for him. 2 first-round picks and 2 swaps. Well, it won't matter in the swaps because Lakers will be picking in the late 20s.
I'll tell you what, man. I still like Utah.
I think this is the smart move for Utah. I think they would have just been doing it spitefully to hang on to Walker because they're fine up front. They're fine.
Oh, I think financially it's a really smart move. Kessler's, it's fine. It's a good move for the Lakers, but I still think Utah's made some really good moves. I like their roster, and even though I understood why you pick AJ DeBonsa, I still think Darren Peterson may have the better first year.
All right, Mark, we got to go. We're way behind. Have a happy Independence Day. We'll talk to you next week. Marc Daniels. We'll be back with more of the BD Sports next. to revisit real fast what Mark was saying there about Team USA that you asked me, a little long-winded with a question yesterday, but a good question. Like if they won, and you notice as the deeper Mark got in the conversation, the more he said I might have to revisit it.
Yep.
But I think that's where it would head is if you'd be looking at knocking off. France is doing unbelievable, unprecedented things right now. They're the favorite for this thing, and they've looked the part. They got the best goal scorer in the history of the World Cup. He might be by the end of this tournament. Messi might get to celebrate for a week, and then Mbappe is going to pass him as far as goal scoring is concerned. If Team USA knocks off Spain, which was a co-favorite, knocks off France, and then is playing, goodness gracious, imagine playing either England in the year 250 after the separation from England and Harry Kane, or they're playing, Brazil, or especially if they're playing Argentina and Messi, the reigning champions, and they win it on their home soil.
The more you talk about it, the more you're like,
I'm not saying, I'm just saying like the idea, like it would, I don't even know what the number would be. Mark was talking about the number, like it might be 100 million, like I don't even know, worldwide. I mean, the billions of people that would be watching with interest in something like that. And it's crazy, but it's also not crazy because they've played well enough to make you believe. And if they were to win these next couple of games, I think you'd start believing even more. I know I would 100%. This is such a crazy story. It's horrific. You do not want to miss what I have to tell you next when we wrap things up.
Time for the latest news, gossip, trends, and off-the-wall stories. Trends. Ooh.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
Nothing like leaving you with a horrific story, but I feel like it must be passed along. Former NFL Man of the Year, former Hurricane, current Raven. He's bounced around the league. Arizona Cardinal for a long time. Calais Campbell, as good of a person as you want to have. His brother has been charged with the murder of his mother. Like, and CV's and I's reaction was like, how does that happen? Like yeah, you can't even imagine. Like, then there's so many stories like that. You can't even imagine how it happens. But hearts, prayers, all that good stuff to Calais and his family. That's unimaginable. The stress and the pain.
Your own brother.
Yeah. That's just terrible. Just terrible. Real quick, change of direction. NBA news to wrap things up. As a reminder, if you missed it, Nick Vucevic. Vuce is coming home, replacing Mo Wagner. Mo is going to Brooklyn. Was anticipated he would leave. A bigger deal. Good for him. Vuce is coming back to Orlando.
As is Javon Carter.
Javon Carter is as well. Thank you for that. So bringing the whole band back. So one spot to go for the Orlando Magic as they fill things out. And then the big news that just happened, which I'm sure will fill up your discussion boards. More Lakers news. Walker Kessler, they are acquiring. So Jalen Duren out in L.A. Don't know what that means for Detroit or Sacramento or what happens there. But the Lakers are trading to acquire the Utah Jazz big man, 4 years, $130 million, 2 firsts and 2 pick swaps on the way out the door. We're back on Monday. Will we know where LeBron's playing on Monday?
I'm going to say no. I think he's going to take his time.
I do too. He shot a picture of himself beat up by the pool yesterday. I'm guessing he's not in a rush.
He's going to take his time.
And you know what? He's earned that right. Take your time, LeBron. We got nothing but time to talk about you. Coming up next, it's The Herd, and then Kravitz and Bianchi to wrap things up.